Cheap food used to mean simple staples, rice, meat, and eggs, but now it's evolved into something different. With rising costs of living, more working Americans rely on cheap, convenient options that have hidden, deadly costs. Depression, heart disease, faster aging, and that's not even half of it. So today, I'm gonna expose the awful things cheap food does to your body so you can take control of your health. And by cheap food, I don't mean solely ultra-processed foods. I mean staples like oil, cereal, or even meat. But how can those be unhealthy? Let's get into it. The first reason is the obvious. Cheap food tends to be highly processed, and with a lot of processing comes a lot of artificial additives. Artificial preservatives, emulsifiers, and whatever makes a McDonald's burger last for decades. That still creeps me out. But Naomi, not all additives are bad. And to that I say, I completely agree. Additives are substances added in small quantities, typically to improve or preserve something. It can be for flavoring, texture, nutrition, or coloring. Like, have y'all ever added lemon to your guacamole? That's technically an additive. But the problem is, companies don't end at lemons, right? Sometimes they add so much artificial stuff regardless of evidence that says XYZ is bad for our health. I mean stuff like red 40, yellow 5, or blue 1. But on top of that, ultra-processed foods tend to lack fiber, make you feel less full, and the synthetic additives may not have the same nutritional benefits as whole foods would. So people tend to consume the same, if not more, calories with ultra-processed foods, but are malnourished. Yes, you can be obese and malnourished. It's this really fun situation where you consume too many calories but don't get enough nutrients, so you feel like shit in a very roundabout way. The malnutrition can lead to chronic diseases, bone health issues, and a weaker immune system, while the obesity leads to cardiovascular problems, joint and liver issues, type 2 diabetes, and whatever other fresh hell you can think of. Regularly consuming cheap ultra-processed foods is like a 2-for-1 deal for diseases. But not only physical diseases, oh no, my friend. It may also increase your risk for depression. Even when adjusting for age, sex, physical activity, smoking, energy intake, and even occupation. You thought it was a 2-for-1, it's actually a 3-for-1 deal. I wonder how popular fast food would be if they put this info on a banner. Warning. Excess amounts may cause depression, obesity, and malnutrition. But like I said, the negative effects aren't all from junk food. Even eating cheap pantry staples that our grandparents relied on could be hurting your health, which is pretty disturbing. Cheaper cooking oil and meat tend to have more unhealthy fats and a crap ton more sodium. If you haven't heard the whole situation with our cooking oil, especially vegetable oil, girl, I don't even know how we're allowed to eat this stuff this much. I could make a whole video about it, but here's the quick rundown. Vegetable oil usually comes from soybeans, and they contain omega-6 fatty acids. In the small amounts found in natural whole foods, it's healthy. But when it's so concentrated and we're eating it all the time, scientists don't quite know how that'll affect us in the long term. But it can't be great. It's to the point where a normal Western diet has a 20-to-1 omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acid. It's supposed to be 1-to-1. Also, these oils have a lot of polyunsaturated fatty acids which oxidize easily. If you have a lot of polyunsaturated fats in your cell membrane, you have very fragile fatty acids that can eventually cause cell damage. Again, I could make a detailed video about it, but the point is, that's what's cheap. The alternative is avocado oil or olive oil, which is great for you, but it's like quadruple the price at my Walmart. So what's the broke college student or the single mom of 4 going to choose? You're right, the vegetable oil. But this video isn't to villainize you for still eating or buying that. Like, I have to stretch $20 a week on food, so it kind of feels like you have no choice. But anyone who's ever been grocery shopping, like ever, knows how expensive the lean or low sodium cuts of meat are, while the cheap stuff are hot dogs, Spam, or potted meat. Walmart, what is this? But regularly eating processed meats may kinda sorta cause cancer. I know, everything causes cancer. I'm kinda sick of it at this point too, but I can explain why. Nitrates and nitrites are additives in processed meats that turn into nitrosamines, or nitrosamines, I don't quite know how to say that, during cooking and digestion. What are those, you ask? Not something you want to be eating. They damage the cells lining the digestive tract, which may lead to cancer growth over time. Now, nitrates, just like most things, are found in healthy whole foods. Just like the omega-6 fatty acids, it's okay in the tiny amounts that come from whole foods like spinach or carrots. It's not okay when it's concentrated. In fact, the World Health Organization has classified processed meats as a level 1 carcinogen. So eating it would be great if you were trying to speed run your way to cancer. Obviously, processed meats come with the usual cardiovascular issues, higher blood pressure, yada yada, but what exactly counts as processed meat? Processed meat is meat that's been through through different flavor enhancing or preservation methods. This could be salting, curing, smoking, or just straight up adding artificial preservatives and additives, which is kind of where the problem comes from. So salting your raw chicken is fine. So what? Are poor people just doomed? We can't afford healthier meat or olive oil, so we just die slow, disease-ridden deaths. There is hope. Not all cheap food is awful. You just have to be strategic about it, and you have to learn how to know what food will benefit your body. So here are some tips for eating better without having to skip rent for the month. I personally look for high fiber, high nutrient foods. Or honestly, just whole foods. I'm talking like lentils, potatoes, beans, frozen veggies. For protein though, I usually mix cheap protein sources with meat. Like the day I make a whole plain chicken sandwich is the day I've made it. Some cheap protein sources though are entire whole raw chickens, eggs, tuna in moderation, or whatever else you can get on sale. It's not impossible to eat like that, but it is very boring. And honestly, your diet doesn't have to be perfect, you know? Like, I'd still eat rice, white bread, or whatever else doesn't have much nutritional value. This video talks about health costs, but I didn't even get to the actual financial costs of cheap food. With the billion health problems people get from this stuff, they have to seek medical care, especially with chronic illnesses. But it doesn't end there. Being tired or sick from your food means you're probably working just enough to survive. People may not have the energy to accomplish ambitious things or to slightly improve their lives even, so they just kind of stay where they are, and it's like a never-ending poverty cycle, you know? I'm not saying blame everything on diet and like people shouldn't even try or anything because of it, but you kind of get where I'm coming from, right? I don't know, it's just a thought. Let me know what y'all think on that. What really gets me is how shady and secretive these companies are. Like, they're not straightforward about how their problems could harm us, and it's all about profit. If people knew more about the health risks, maybe they'd think twice about buying their kids that cheap burger or bag of Skittles. But it's hard to make informed decisions when all the information is buried under layers of marketing. Even if we did know though, most of us would probably pick the frozen pizza over lentils any day. And before y'all judge, life is stressful. We're built as humans to prefer the simpler options, and companies know that. Plus, learning to cook from scratch is hard, and that's the only way I've been able to eat healthy for cheap. Obviously, there's individual responsibility at play, and that is definitely a factor, but I think it's bigger than that to an extent. Why is it easier and cheaper to get a bag of chips than it is to get a bag of apples? Hi, this is Editing Naomi, so obviously I look a little different. I did actually misspeak when I made that comparison, but a good example of what I was talking about is berries versus ice cream. If I were making a split-second decision as to what I wanted for dessert, I would pick the ice cream because it costs less. And quite frankly, most people just pick the ice cream. But my point was, it's like the environment we're in kind of makes it very easy to pick the unhealthy option. Like, it's what's marketed on TV, at checkout lanes, it's chips, candy, sugary drinks, vending machines, it's all chips, stuff like that. I just mean, like, we have to go out of our way to pick the healthy option, if it makes sense. I feel like it's harder to make the healthy choices because we're set up in an environment where it is like there's less barriers to make the unhealthy choices, if it makes sense. Like the frozen pizza or getting Domino's, I feel like is cheaper than signing up for a meal service that brings you healthy food. Like, I know there's a lot of factors. I know there's economics. I know there's supply and demand. Most people, again, would choose pizza, but that's just the point I was trying to make. Okay, I'm done. Back to the video. Why is there such a limited amount of cheap healthy food and an unlimited amount of cheap junk food? I think those are pretty complex topics, and I'd have to do more research to give y'all an answer, but again, let me know what you think. While doing all this research though, I genuinely just wondered like one thing. Why is ultra-processed food a lot cheaper even though it takes more resources and ingredients to make? Are they trying to keep us hooked? Are they using questionable ingredients? Like, what's up with that? I don't know, but I'm gonna research it, and I'm kind of scared and excited to find out. So if you want to learn more about that and more weird, shady, health-related topics, please don't forget to subscribe. I'm trying to get to 300 subscribers by August, my birthday, and I kind of like having you here. I don't know, I like telling you the tea. So I hope I see you next time. Bye. Please subscribe.